Hello, good morning, this is Diecast Luna. Hope you're all doing well. And I want to start by apologising if I sound a bit croaky and a bit gravelly and coughy. The last cold that I've recently had has left me with a bit of a cough, so I apologise if I sound a bit weird. But anyway, pressing on with the video. So as you've seen from the title, we are talking about fake diecast. We're talking about reproductions and forgeries, and how I got caught out at first. So anyway, as you might all know, excuse me, I've been mentioning that I'm going off to this diecast shop that's quite a drive from mine, and I've been there before quite successfully, and they sell everything from RLCs to vintage pieces to mini GT. They've got quite a collection. It's a very small shop. I will leave some photographs if I can find any to leave about now. So it's not a very big place, but anyway, I did go up there the other day and I was looking for some stuff, and I didn't find anything of particular, anything I was really into, to be honest. And then I came across this. So I'll show it in detail in a minute, but basically it is a Corgi Whiz Wheels Volkswagen 1300. Now, I do like collecting the older older Corgis, older Husky cars, as I'm getting quite into it, but I don't know as much as I do with the Hot Wheels. And I know there's quite a few people that like to fake Hot Wheels and Matchbox and Corgi. And some cars are easier to fake than others, and especially this one, because this car, if it was a real one, would be worth about £1,100, 1,100 UK pounds. It's an expensive piece. And when I seen some of these other Corgi Whiz Wheels in the cabinets, I was looking at them, and then I seen this. This is a car that I would be into collecting because it is a Beetle. I have other Beetles from Whiz Wheels, Corgi Whiz Wheels, but I was assured from the other cars that were there that this was the real deal. And I didn't really pay much attention. I paid the money, looked at the car, and stuck it in my bag and didn't think nothing of it. Just thought I'd got a bargain, because when this was put up, when I asked the price on this car, I was expecting them to say that it was going to be possibly as much as £80 or £90, because to find these are more rare than Matchbox. Finding Corgi Whiz Wheels, early Corgi 70s Whiz Wheels, sorry, still blistered, is a rare thing. And the last one sold for 1,100 and something pounds. I will show the original now. So that is a picture of the original car, and that's what first drawed my eye. Was on the original you have a cutout there, and this one doesn't have it. So this is basically like an unpunched card, but if it was an unpunched card, there would still be the mark for the unpunched card. This does not have one. Also on the other one, the blister is slightly different. This blister isn't the same as the blister on the original one. So these are the first things I was starting to notice before I just bear with me, needed to blow my nose. Some of the telltale signs, and then I was starting to look at it a bit closer, and like I said, it is done very well. Now this was another telltale sign that something wasn't playing right. I know from the other ones I've got, or ones I've seen, this would be like a normal card rough back, and then this would be like a smooth. This would be smooth. So this bit's wrong as well, as it is shiny. So it is definitely a reproduction. And the last telltale sign is when you look underneath. If we get some zoom on, I'll try and show you. You can see the glue marks. See it? And the early Whiz Wheels, I'll get one to show you, would look like this. So this is the same casting, but a slightly not so old. So the first Whiz Wheels had basically a hole drilled in the plate, and then it was spun rivet. The earlier versions had like almost like a square hole, but they still had a spun rivet. But because the spun rivet wasn't so well made, it was a design fault, so they changed it to this design, right? So I've looked at the other one, and you can see the earlier rivets, and this is what this would have been. This would have been an earlier rivet design. If you look at the hole, you can see that it is a squared hole, and it would have been a spun rivet, and they used to fail. So this is an earlier, slightly earlier base than the other one, slightly earlier casting. But when I realised that I'd been had, I wasn't very impressed, because this car cost me £40, which is not cheap. But if this was the original, it was cheap. And obviously I'm glad I haven't, I'm glad I've looked and not just cracked it open, and because even though it is an original car, it obviously isn't the original of this. Someone's made this because they are worth money, and if you were to see these on eBay, you could get caught out. And I'm not a diecast expert, really. Let's face it, we're all collectors. I'm a collector. I love all types of collecting, but my main collecting is vintage pieces. And if it had been a Matchbox, I wouldn't have probably got pulled my pants down over it, because I've learned a lot about Matchbox. Again, I'm not an expert on Matchbox, but I've learned enough, and I'm in contact with other collectors in the UK who have taught me a lot, and I know some of the things to look for, because they do fake quite a lot of Matchbox cars, some of the earlier stuff from the 60s, because they're worth so much money because of the variation types. Matchbox had a habit of making up to 3 million cars back in the day. Back in the late 70s and early 70s, whatever, in the 60s, they made a lot of cars, and they would quite often run out of different colour material. So say they run out of the material, say they were making a white car with a red interior, and they run out of red colour plastic to make the interiors, they would use blue, and that's where you get the variations from. And then when they got the colour back in, they'd switch back, and that's why these cars, some of the Matchbox cars, become rare, because of the variations, and people forge the variations. And I've come across it and I've learned, but this did catch me out. But I am making a quick video on this, and I am taking it back, and I'm going to be very nice when I take it back, because they might not know, but they should know, because they are a collector's shop. And if this had reproduction or what have you, or restoration or something, and that would be different, because you're not being false advertised. And also, it ain't worth the money I paid for it. If this was something, because I could do this, I haven't got the printer anymore, but I could do this, I could restore a car quite easily like that, and and to be honest, it's worth as much as the person that wants it would pay for it, really. But as an average price, this car's probably worth about £8, as it's nice, if you can't afford the real thing. But I obviously want the original, I don't want the reproduction. So that's what's happened with that. So anyway, very interesting. But I am going to be opening something. So I did get this the same day. I got this from another shop. And this is something I've been after for ages. I could have got one online, but online these are fetching a little bit more than they're worth, in my opinion. But I did come across some. And this is the car from, this is the Datsun from Roadkill. I used to love watching Roadkill until... There's still episodes of Roadkill on the internet, but I think they changed to... I can't remember what the name of the place is now. I think something... Trend, or whatever, but they've moved over, so you have to now subscribe. So I haven't been watching Motor Trend. That's it, they've gone to Motor Trend, and I don't want to pay the subscription, because I already pay enough subscriptions for different other TV services and internet services. But I finally found one. It wasn't expensive. I think I paid £7, and it is obviously based on the 71 Datsun 240Z or Z, and they called it the Datsun. And this is, I believe, from the second, I'm trying to think, because this is when the car got rebuilt the second time, because they did the car in the first place, and then I think the car sat for 2 years or something like that, and then they redid the car again, and it became quite drivable. But it is very nicely done, and I wanted this because I've seen it on some other people's channels and thought how well they'd replicated the car, because it was a basket case. I don't know if my phone's doing it justice. Let's try and get a bit of extra. So you can see the rust splotches on the roof because the roof had rust holes through it. You got the rots and the engine's done. The only bit I would quibble over is they could have done a little bit of detail on the engine, maybe make that bit red and maybe tamper the engine up a little bit just to make it. But I'm not going to knock it too much. But you can see some of the rot holes. It is done very well. It's got the 24 hours of lemons, which is what this ended up racing in, which I believe is when they did redo it. So happy to find this, as I used to like watching Roadkill. So anyway, that is today's video. I am going to try and do a vintage Matchbox Mondays episode if I can. If I don't, you'll have to forgive me, as I'm quite busy and I've got to go back with that car, and I'll obviously let you know how it got on, and possibly, if they didn't know, what I ended up swapping it in for, or if I got your money back, or whatever. But it's a lesson to us all. If you're into collecting vintage pieces like me, be careful when you buy stuff that is just a bit too good. I got a bit too excited, I admit. I seen some of these Whiz Wheels cars and I was like, no way. That is what I really, really want. Because like I said, I've got a couple. So I do like these Corgi Beetles. They were done very, very well. But this is an old, obviously this is an original, and obviously it's not mint. And to come across these are two are very rare, is the Beetles, especially the orange Beetles, and the Mark 1 Escorts that Corgi Whiz Wheels did. They are very sought after. But anyway, with that, please like, share, subscribe. Stay tuned for more unboxing videos, vintage Matchbox Mondays, premium videos, all that good stuff. And be careful of getting caught out with fake diecast. Anyway, I'll see you all soon. Thanks for watching.